Buying a house in 2025 especially is a massive scam. Do not do it. It is one of the worst financial decisions you can make in your life. In full disclosure here, I do not own a house myself. I'm a huge numbers guy, and after crunching all of the numbers and taking input from my close friends who own their own houses, I have learned that it is one of the dumbest financial decisions you can make in your life. So let's go ahead and break it down here. But before I do so, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. It takes 2 seconds and you'll never see this channel again. However, I've got 9 subscribers right now and it kind of hurts on the inside. So just go ahead, hit that subscribe button. It means a lot to me. All right, so the true cost of home ownership. And again, I've heard this from a lot of friends and crunched the numbers myself, and it makes sense to me. But if you disagree, go ahead and leave a comment and let me know why. But let's start with Zillow. Zillow is an app that people use for buying houses. It's kind of like Tinder for houses in a way, not really. Anyway, you're looking at houses, you go through the pictures, shows you the square footage, whatever, and at the bottom, it gives you your eligibility to purchase this house. It'll take your credit score, your income, how much you expect to put down on the house, and it kind of gives you a number. You know, you could buy this house, you do qualify potentially, and you're going to be owing $1,400 a month. So this number is very, very misleading. And I think a lot of people fall for it, see that number, and they're like, damn, I can get out of this apartment or this townhome, this rental, whatever I'm in now, and I can pay $1,400 for the rest of my life. 30 years later, I own this home, right? On surface level, that sounds pretty good, right? Especially because rent is slowly creeping up, and in a lot of places, it is well over $1,000 a month now. But this number on Zillow doesn't paint the whole picture. So let's take my close friend, we're gonna call him John in this video, but John purchased a house right after he got his first full-time job after college. John saw this number on Zillow and expected to be paying pretty similar to that cost, but after the first and second year of home ownership, John learned that he was actually paying 3 times this number every single month just to own the house. And for what? To get $500 of equity every single month? You know, that doesn't make sense. So John ended up paying $4,500 a month to own this house. And again, only $500 of that is going into an appreciating asset, the house itself. Now, why exactly is this? Well, John learned in the process of home ownership that there was a lot more to the expenses than you'd have in an apartment. John purchased a $400,000 home that was 20 years old, and Zillow told him he should be expecting to pay 1% of the home cost every single year, so $4,000 in home repair fees. After 2 years, John learned that he was actually paying closer to 5 or 6% of the home value per year in home repairs, and this was solely due to the fact that it was an older home. Now, if he wanted to get into a newer home and avoid these costs, he'd, pay a lot more for the house, but then he'd be a little bit closer to that 1%. But within that first year, John had a lot of major expenses. Ductwork needed replaced, copper pipes under the house needed replaced, the water heater needed replaced. I mean, there's a ton of other things with this that kind of drove up that cost of home ownership. Now, maintenance is one thing, but what people don't realize is that there's a lot more expenses along with that. So first was PMI. John only put 3.5% down, and so for the next 5 to 10 years, he has to pay $200 a month in PMI. Also, home property insurance has gone up dramatically. Same with property taxes, okay? And then one thing he didn't expect from coming from an apartment was the increase in utility bills. So John had a 1-bed, 1-bath apartment previously, and now his 3-bedroom home was costing almost 4 times the amount in electricity, in utilities such as water, gas, and other things along those lines. He was paying 4 times as much just to keep that house in good condition. And that was equating to nearly $1,000 of his monthly payment towards this house. And now, something else, he has to pay HOA fees, and he has to pay for a yard waste fee, a trash fee. I mean, these are things that he did not have at his apartment complex. All in together, John was paying around $4,000 to $5,000 per month to own this home, which again is absolutely insane. So let's go ahead and take me, for example. I live a less than luxury life. I'm not married, and I live in an apartment complex. I pay $900 per month in rent. I'm not trying to flex on you guys, but I do have a really good job, and if I did want to go buy a house, I could do this without making myself house poor. So my $900 every single month gets evaporated. It goes to the apartment complex, and I never see that money again. But what that opens up for me, in this case, is the ability to invest the difference. I can invest $4,000 per month as opposed to John, who can't afford to split that bill. So while my investments are going up by $4,000 every month plus appreciation, John's investment, the house, is pretty much making him completely house poor. So I've crunched the numbers with what I have. I'm 25 years old right now, and at 30 years old, I should have close to $1 million. At this point, I will most likely buy a house in cash with that investment money and leave half of the investment money in there to continue growing. So after 5 years of living a less than luxury lifestyle, I can afford to have a house and not make myself completely house poor. But what goes along with this is that I will probably be paying around $2,000 per month in property tax, in insurance, in utilities. I mean, even if I buy this house in cash, it will still be more expensive than renting an apartment. Again, this house would be a luxury, not an asset to me. And so what can you do? Maybe you're in my same boat. Maybe you're in your 20s and you really want to put 3.5% down, 20% down, whatever it is, and go buy a house. Well, here's a simple solution. Go find a rental house. If you can find the right property manager or owner and get a locked-in rate for about 10 years, you can live in the same house, while the rent prices of apartments around you continue to go up. You can have a locked-in rate, and you'll be happy because you're in a house with a locked-in, lower-ish payment every single month. The owner will be happy because you're paying for the mortgage and the expenses because he bought this house years ago, and so that rate never changes for him. And at this point, you can live in an actual house. You don't have to worry about all the bullshit extra charges, and then you can invest all the rest of your income while you're saving to own your own home. Anyway, I can go on and on about why buying a house is a scam, and you may or may not listen to what I have to tell you, but one thing is for certain. If you are basing your budget for a home off of the estimated Zillow price, I highly urge you to take a second look, really look at the expenses, and make sure that you can afford it before you do it. I know a lot of people who try to fudge the numbers up to make it look a lot better on paper than it really is, just because they want to buy a house. Do not play this game. Do not try to trick yourself into saying it's a good idea if it's not. Again, really do your research. Make sure that you're doing the right deal for you and live a happy life. With that being said, guys, I appreciate y'all for watching. Go ahead and comment if you agree with all this, and we'll see you in the next video. Peace.